Hi, it's Ernie from Kitchen Tumblers, and today we're going to be doing a brand new way to do fabric tumblers. We're not going to be using Mod Podge, no spray adhesives, no long drying times. We just get right into it. So, let's get started. Go ahead and grab a screenshot because these are the items we'll be using in today's video. We are going to go ahead and start with our fabric, which I got from Hobby Lobby, and this Pellet paper. What is Pellet paper? Well, Pellet paper is a fusible paper that you use on fabrics, typically to attach some type of applique to perhaps a bag or a pillow or something like that. So what we're doing here is we're ironing out our fabric to get some of the wrinkles out, and then we're going to grab this Pellet paper and we'll peel off one side of the paper and iron it to the back of the fabric. You can look at Pellet paper as double-sided tape. Pellet paper is a fabric double-sided tape where you tape one side to the fabric and you peel off the paper and tape the other side to whatever you're going to attach it to. The only difference here is that Pellet paper requires heat to activate it. According to the instructions, you only need to press your heating element to it for about 2 seconds, but I did it a little bit longer. Now that I am all pressed, I am going to cut and trim around the paper. Now, this is very important. When pressing, you want to make sure that your first press is not on the paper side, but on the fabric side. I will be using my Cricut with the regular blade to cut my fabric using the fusible fabric setting. The measurements are going to be 9.3 by 8.2, and I made sure that I posted or I wrote that on my paper there so that if I forgot to tell you guys, it will be right there and you can see it. But right here I am just pressing down my fabric, the paper side down, onto my mat, and I'm using a strong grip mat, but you don't have to use a strong grip mat. As long as you have a nice sticky regular mat, it'll work just fine. And it cut perfectly with just one passage through. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, this fusible fabric, or this double-sided tape as I'm calling it, is activated through heat. So what I'm doing here is getting my heat tape ready so that I can now attach it to my tumbler. We'll be using a 20-ounce sublimation tumbler that I picked up from Atlanta Vinyl. Now, you don't have to use a sublimation tumbler. I'm using one because it is white and therefore I don't have to paint or spray paint, which does not turn out well with the heating aspect of it. So I don't recommend using a spray painted tumbler. However, if you can find a tumbler that is white or whatever color that will match your fabric, you can definitely do that. It does not have to be a sublimation tumbler. So now that I have pre-stuck my fabric to my tumbler, There's no heat that has been placed on it, so it is not activated yet. So technically I could remove it and adjust it if I needed to, but I've got it on there pretty good now. So I'm going to apply butcher paper. Now we're using butcher paper, not wax paper, because wax paper tends to leave a waxy buildup on the item that you're using when you use wax paper. So I prefer butcher paper, plus it's better for your heat press. Now that I've got my butcher paper rolled onto my tumbler, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra tape to make sure that it's nice and snug and adhered onto the cup very well. So now I am just making sure that my butcher paper is nice and snug around the tumbler. So I'm adding some heat resistant tape all around to make sure everything is nice and tight. Please make sure you are going to wear your heat gloves because this gets very hot. I've got my tumbler press at about 375, which is just an arbitrary number that I picked. It's typically the number that I use for sublimation, so that's what I've got it on. But I don't have an exact temperature for you to use. And just like the instructions say, you only need to press it for about 2 seconds. So just because 2 seconds does not register in my mind very well, I pressed it for a little bit longer, and I rotated the cup around to make sure that I got every single side. And like I said before, it gets really hot, so make sure you're wearing your heat gloves. And speaking of hot, are you subscribed to me on TikTok? If not, go ahead and add me, because I'll be doing this fabric patch tumbler tutorial on there, and it's only going to be about 3 minutes. Now that our paper and tumbler have cooled off a bit, we are peeling off everything and checking it out. And as you can see, we are fully adhered to the tumbler. So here I am just doing a little bit of rolling to get any dust or debris off so we can be ready for our next step. Here we have clear permanent vinyl that we went ahead and cut to the size of our template. And we're going to very carefully roll that clear vinyl onto the fabric tumbler, nice and neatly, and taking our time. And we're not worrying about Mod Podge or having to dry or anything to make sure that we don't get that epoxy wet spot that you get on your fabric tumblers when you don't Mod Podge enough. Now we're just cutting the excess vinyl off the top and the bottom of the tumbler to prepare ourselves to use the cup edging tool. Now it's time to peel, and as you can see, it's giving a lot of resistance, so it's stuck on there really well. Now that we've got all of our edging off, I'm going to go ahead and use some nail tape in gold to rim off the top and the bottom. Now that we're taped off, we're going to go ahead and use a 1-to-1 ratio epoxy, making sure that we are following all steps and all precautions as indicated on the label, and making sure you're wearing your gloves, your mask, you're in a well ventilated area, and you have mixed it correctly. So I did something to make my tape kind of fall off balance, and so I decided to just pull that off and change to glitter, and I'm using the color pencil from the glitter guy. And just like we would with any other tumbler, we're going to go ahead and let that run for a little bit. This is a fast acting epoxy, so I'm going to give it 2 hours, and then I'm going to apply another layer of epoxy to seal the glitter in. Now that it is complete, you're going to want to let it spin and cure for the appropriate time that is listed on your epoxy. And that is it. The tumbler is complete. We did not use any Mod Podge. We still have that beautiful shine because we sealed it with clear vinyl, and we saved so much time, so much mess. Don't see any streaks that you sometimes see with Mod Podge. I feel like there's something here. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you share it and let everybody know about this new method where we use Pellet paper versus Mod Podge to do our fabric tumblers. You have stayed this long to watch the video. I truly appreciate you. Comment the word pizza below so I can see who really is paying attention and watching my videos to the end. Thank you so much for your support, and make sure that you are following my TikTok channel so that you can also see some tutorials on there that are quick and fun that I don't necessarily film a full YouTube video for. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.